What's up guys, Joey here. So today we're testing the new Warzone 2 DMZ mode, which is basically extraction, similar to Escape from Tarkov, but it's, casual. And I just wanted to share, the performance in the game a little bit, just show the settings I'm running. So I've got 3440 by 1440 ultra wide. My monitor is only 100 Hertz, but we can still, I've uncapped it to 165 just to show how high it can go. And the settings are FSR 1.0. I tried NVIDIA image scaling, and it seemed like the FPS was slightly better, but I also noticed more, I don't know what to call it, more film grain type of effect, like it was like an image scaling effect that it's in NVIDIA image scaling compared to FSR 1.0. I just prefer the look of FSR 1.0, though it is very subtle, so you might get slightly better performance with NIS. But this is the one to use. Hopefully they update it to 2.1 or something in the near future. It's actually really weird that they would not add a better version of FSR for a 2.0 game. Like, it's supposed to be the upgraded Warzone, and they gimped the FSR, but maybe they're just lazy, I don't know. And yeah, Filmic, this is just for clarity because we want the game to look good. We don't want it to look jagged, and it does hit performance pretty hard, but there's no other option, funnily enough. You only got T2X if you want it to look even sharper, but this removes a lot of the, it removes a lot of the aliasing that's still left over on T2X. You might still notice it more. This smooths the image out a bit, and then combine that with Radeon image sharpening, which is in the driver. So if I press Alt-Z, you might not be able to see it. But on the left here, I can, it's invisible for you guys, but there's a Radeon image sharpening setting you can enable, and I've got sharpness set to 90%. And then we've got anti-aliasing maxed out. Memory scale, I would leave this default because when you mess with memory scale, it tends to conflict with the driver zone management. And I noticed that in Hunt Showdown, so I just leave it alone. 85 is probably fine, and you do need some overhead for texture streaming and Radeon ReLive, anything you're doing that uses the memory in the background, you do want some overhead. And then I've basically set competitive settings, except for this particular title, the way they've given us settings, like you can see I've set these all to max, which is high, but level of detail, which is objects, normally you wouldn't care that much about it. But what I noticed is when I set it to low, it is like pop-in land. So you'll just see bushes and rocks and noticeable bushes, like not small bushes, large bushes and stuff. Further up into the distance, the grass textures just look like a barren wasteland, like flat, undetailed. It's just horrible. And so turning this up to high adds a lot of immersion to the game, as well as declutter draw distance. So you want basically to turn all these up, and there's only two settings. So it's basically low end or high end, or mid range to high end. So yeah, whatever FPS you get is just limited by your CPU and GPU. And then I haven't noticed anything severe with particle quality or particle quality level that has made me feel like I need to turn it up. Bullets and what's it called, thermite charges and all that stuff look fine on lowest, and that probably helps FPS a little bit. Shader quality is just how the way surfaces light up, especially when you're in spectator mode. You can press shift and actually put the camera on a head camera, which is awesome. Like it looks super cool. It's like what you see in paintball videos online, like in real life videos. They got like a helmet cam, and so shader quality helps with adding a little bit of lighting to those surfaces to make it look more realistic. So if you can have it maxed out, that's great, but again, it depends on your system. On a mid-range or lower end system, obviously just lower it, but you do have to reboot. So I've just left it on high because we want it to look as good as possible while still trying to be competitive. And tessellation, this can be good, but I just noticed that if you set it on near, it's almost like you still get that issue where distant hills and stuff look completely flat. And you have to get close enough to see the grass textures on them, which adds some immersion and detail. But near is, in a sense, it's not going to help you that much because you're not looking at your immediate foreground, like 5 meters in front of you. You tend to look off into the distance for enemies, and so near is kind of wasted. If you're going to run it to add immersion and make the textures look more detailed, I would run all. But then you got the memory here. We'll try running all just for fun. I'll turn it on all and I'll lower it because you can lower this one dynamically. You don't have to restart. So I'll set it to all just for this benchmark so you guys can see what that looks like. Just pay attention to how the surfaces look like on a hill in the distance. If you see grass in a tree, pay attention to how the hill is actually shaped, because I know that with this off, the hills just all look like mounds, like they all look really smooth, and it's kind of like fake looking, but you know. And then terrain memory is just how much memory is allocated to terrain textures, and its default is max, and there's only a min. There's no slider or anything, so I just left it on max. And now we've got texture streaming, and this is tied to your bandwidth, your internet connection. And so if you've got a decent ping, but you're downloading and your bandwidth isn't that good, or you're sharing downloads with other people that are torrenting or something like that, this can actually cause FPS drop. So you need a really good internet connection, and you also need to like max out the texture cache size. But the frustrating thing here is it does not explain how much it doesn't explain anything. It doesn't explain how much cache will be built, and if that's renewed. Like, are they constantly updating textures every update, and you have to keep downloading them, or will you just eventually download all of them and be good, you know, for the current version of the game? And there's no like explanation here if like the slider doesn't tell you anything. So you can just read this high quality textures are downloaded while you play the game, and if you have it off, it loads textures that are part of your game install only. So that's obviously going to be faster and avoid pop-in and latency issues. But it is really weird that you can have it up to 24 gig, but there's no option to just download them all in one go. Like, why can't you just not have on demand and just have it all loaded into your, you know, save with your install, like a high-res texture pack? So I find that really weird, and back in Warzone, I never liked it, so I just keep it off all the time, because it eliminates that chance of internet causing latency spikes and things like that. Streaming quality is streaming from your local files, your local game files, and how quickly, you know, if your GPU has GDDR6 and it's streaming in textures as you, for example, skydive in, streaming quality will help keep those buildings and things high resolution rather than have them paper mache type of Crayola loading where you see like everything looks horrible for a little bit before you get closer. So I just noticed this will keep it more detailed, but it only goes up to normal anyway, so I guess it is optimized in a sense that it's not going to stream in super high detail, but it's going to look decent. And at the same time, if you're on a lower spec card, obviously just set it to low. Like if you know that your card's not that powerful, you'd want it on low just to. It'll be even worse if you set it to normal and your card can't handle it. You will get even worse quality. Like you'll get building meshes popping up without the text, without any detailed texture whatsoever, and it looks even worse than like. I don't even know how to explain it. It looks really bad if your card can't handle it. So I noticed on the 6700 XT, normal is fine. Probably because of the smart access memory and the infinity cache. So that probably helps. And then there's just volumetric, which you know the drill. You lower that. Deferred physics quality is physics for water when you walk through it, like how it reacts to your character model. And it is CPU. So when you're running competitive settings, you're trying to get the max FPS. You don't want any CPU-bound FPS drop, which will drop your 1% lows and your 0.1s, because your CPU is doing work, and that's going to be kind of tied to your frame rate when you're not GPU-bound. So there'll be scenes where there's lots of enemies around, you'll actually become CPU-bound, and you'll notice the GPU utilization will drop under 99%. And when you're CPU-bound, if you're running stuff like this, the water I'm not sure about water caustics, actually. I just turned it off because I didn't notice it in-game. But the deferred physics will affect your CPU-bound performance because it's using CPU cycles. And then, yeah, shadows all minimum. You can notice this in the lobbies. You'll see like crappy shadows on the character model, but when you're actually in game, you don't notice it. So it's a personal preference. If it bothers you, then I would turn up shadow map resolution just at least to normal. But for me, the 6700 XT is not powerful enough to really push the game into good FPS numbers. So I just lower that. And particle lighting, you can see here, at least they've got a little image, but it does say medium effect on GPU, and that means in combat you will lose FPS if you run this turned up, and it goes all the way up to ultra. So obviously, who cares if the particles don't look perfect, but you can see the difference here. It's like it's got more color detail, and maybe it looks a little bit nicer, but this is fine on the left, having it lowered. And then ambient occlusion, this is interesting, because at first I turned this up and I didn't realize there was steppings to it, but basically there's ambient occlusion for fixed objects, so you know, building boxes, stuff that's doesn't move, And then you have dynamic objects, which is vehicles and things like that, and the characters. And this can look really good, but only if you have a really powerful card. You can even run them both, but I find the optimal setting is static, because that's just building edges and things like that. Stuff that's not moving, that's not going to give you a huge FPS hit. But then they've added, which they didn't have before, is GTAO quality. And so you can kind of improve it to look really good, but at the same time you can optimize it more. Low, you probably wouldn't want to run. That's just my guess, is that you'd lose a lot of certain objects like boxes and crates around warehouses would likely get much lower ambient occlusion details. So maybe normal would be more ideal to run, and I'm going to set that to normal. I haven't actually tested it. I ran on ultra quality and I was getting around 100 FPS. We'll see if I get higher FPS at normal. And screen space reflections, that's self-explanatory. It's reflective surfaces, puddles, water, reflecting buildings in the shimmer of the water, stuff like that, or even maybe mirrors and things in houses, but you're not going to notice that for the majority of the time, and you don't want the FPS hit, because there is a lot of watery areas in the game, and I haven't tested with it on, but I just know that it is a performance-intensive setting. It'd be great for single player, but not for multiplayer. And then static reflection, this is okay. If you notice, I'm actually going to turn that back up to high. This can also be related to certain reflections on armor gear, on character models. This is just my guess. Because there's certain reflections, like for example, a helmet, you'd think it's dynamic because it's on a player model, but when you're in spectator mode, there's a possibility that the helmet is a static reflection because it doesn't move at all. Like if you go to the helmet camera mode, you'll notice that sometimes you can see the helmet and there is reflections on there, but I'm not sure if they're light reflections or static reflections. I have to that takes a little bit more time to test, but at the very least this would probably affect glass and buildings to some extent as well, because they're static, they're not moving. So we'll see, but I'll leave it on low for now. If I notice some low quality reflections, like I've tested where is it? Not particle, if I can just find it. There's a lighting one. Full impact shader quality. Maybe I've lost it. Volumetric physics. Particle lighting? It's kind of hard. No, it's not particle lighting. There's a setting. It could very well be the screen space reflections. See, this one is weapon and characters, so having that off will stop screen space shadows. So shadows on your character and gun model, I guess that could look really nice. So low might be nice or high, but I have to test it specifically. See, I haven't tested all these, but I'm running what I believe would be the most competitive while still not having a horrible amount of pop-in. Like, these are important. Particle quality. No, it's not. It's none of these. Okay. I believe then it would most likely be screen space reflections for the helmet camera, because I saw really crappy, I saw like a jagged shadow on a helmet cam. So it's either screen space reflections for the helmet cams or screen space shadows, but it could have been a shadow reflection, or it could have been an actual shadow, but it was like a blocky stepped, aliased shadow. And if I've got these both turned off, then the only other setting that could have been affecting that is this, because it's still turned on, like you can't turn it off. So static reflection quality could be the helmet camera shadows. So if you notice that you use the helmet cam a lot in spectator and it looks crappy on the helmet, maybe turning this to high would improve that. But we'll test it in game. Like when I die, I'll spec a guy and we'll try changing this setting and see if we can get rid of the helmet shadow blocky effect. And weather grid is dynamic objects, so I'm not sure if this applies to character models, but it would apply to vehicles. And it's kind of like the what's it called? It's kind of like the physics of how weather will affect that model and how it'll bounce on the, rain will bounce on the vehicle and stuff like that. But off, obviously. If you can turn it off, then turn it off, because that will be most likely CPU and slightly GPU related, and it would contribute to FPS drop in weather combat. And if you can just turn off stuff hitting your vehicle the way that the weather interacts with the vehicle model, then obviously that's going to give you the best performance. And then these are all self-explanatory, but if you're not aware, like a lot of people say turn off all motion blur. Weapon motion blur just makes the weapon blur, not what you're aiming at. So that can look, sometimes it can look cinematic and cool. I like to leave it on, but again, personal preference. And then here, field of view. This is a tough one because a lot of people will complain and say, why don't you just max it out? if you turn it too high, especially on ultra wide, which already has its own aspect ratio field of view that's different to a standard like a 24-inch monitor, a 16:9 monitor, on 21:9, when you turn the field of view all the way up here, it just makes, it's like you're going through a vortex, time traveling or something, and it just makes a fisheye effect where it's like you're viewing the world through a circle, like through a fishbowl, and it looks horrible. And what's nice though is they've added the true values, so you don't have to guess what setting do you need the slider to get an ideal horizontal and vertical field of view. And you can see here that I can set the vertical to 88, up to 88, but then the horizontal's at 133, and horizontal's like across. So ideally, for most monitors and for a realistic non-fisheye effect, you want to try to get your horizontal to be about 90. And on an ultra-wide, that's actually down here at 70, 73. And maybe at the highest, 95. Would avoid the majority of fisheyeing while still giving you extra field of view. But over a 16:9, it balances out. Like, they could turn it up and they'll get a similar field of view if they max out their slider, but they'll also get a fisheye effect eventually, or it just can actually make it harder to aim because it kind of zooms the camera out. So you have, if you set it up here, enemies will seem further away compared to if you set it down here. And that's where there's a tactical advantage to both methods. One, it gives you more view distance. One makes it easier to aim. So depending on how good you are at aiming, if you find you're always missing your shots and you see people playing and they're shooting enemies really far away on their, on their YouTube video, and you're like, how did he hit that? They could be playing at a really low field of view. And it makes it easier for them to aim. But it's hard to fully explain because on your monitor, it might look like the enemies are small, but if they're running a bigger monitor, it helps a lot as well because of the pixel density. So anyway, 73 for 90 field of view. I might try testing 95, but I found 73 is fine to play at. It doesn't matter too much, I'd say, as long as you're not going to the extreme of either end. Like, you don't want to be gimping your horizontal field of view, but you don't necessarily need to have it as high as possible. We'll try 78 because 95 is good. And then weapon field of view. This is interesting. You can actually just make your weapon model smaller. So wide puts it as small as possible, so it's taking up less of the screen. And ADS field of view, you can have it tied to your camera field of view, like your setting, or you can have it affected. So affected, it zooms in more accurately to whatever your field of view is set to. So you can have it either one. You can test and just see what you prefer. And then obviously turn the camera movements down to 50% because this is effects for like grenades and things like that going off. It can help. And when you're moving the camera, like you're just panning the camera, it's how the camera reacts and moves the gun model as well. Like it doesn't really move it, but it gives that impression, especially in combat. So I like to just set these down for minimal camera movement because it makes it easier to adjust your aim. Okay, so that's basically everything. This is like 18 minutes of explaining settings because there's so many, like there are so many settings. Even in audio, you can also turn on bass boost, which helps with footsteps, at least in theory. But I haven't, like, I played just normal and it was fine, but I do notice that it sounds a little bit more boomy obviously, in bass boosted version, and I prefer that with my Cloud Alpha headphones. So anything else in here that's important? Not really. Okay, and so yeah, with the DMZ mode, it's interesting because it's a lot like Tarkov, and you can select missions, which is kind of like vendor missions, but different. There's 3 factions, and you have to unlock the first one to get to the second one. And I've already done, you can see I've already done these 3 tier 1s, but to unlock White Lotus and these other factions, I need to storm the stronghold, which is you find a key card in your game, so you can't load in with one. You actually got to go find one on an enemy or in a building or something. I'm not exactly sure where they drop, but when you get the key card on the map, there are strongholds, which are the little castle icons, and you can unlock those with the key card only. And then there's high-end enemies in there. You got to go in, take them all out, and hopefully find White Lotus intel. So you need to know what you're looking for, but when you mouse over stuff, it tells you. And that's the mission that I'm on at the moment. And the interesting thing about this is the way that they've done it is, so you can see I've got this mission selected. I've done the other one, so I can't repeat them. And then confirm, and this is like your pre-game loadout, and you've got contraband, which are kind of like enemy weapons you picked up, but you get some contraband to start with, and they're fixed, so they've got like attachments. So it's got a full set of attachments, but you only have a fixed amount. Like I had 3 of them or 4 of them, and I've already used them up. If you die with your contraband, you lose that weapon, and then you just have to use whatever you've got left. And so you can actually get to a point where you've got no weapons left. I'm not sure if it'll give you free contraband if you run out, but basically you can see here I used to be able to load in with 2 weapons of contraband, and now I've only got 1 weapon left. And then the tactical and stuff is all free, so you can, as long as you've unlocked it for your character level or your account level, you can keep using whatever you've unlocked, and that's not a problem. You can see here I've unlocked Battle Rage as a field upgrade, and there's still some other stuff it unlocks at certain levels. Okay? But the other cool thing is if you find keys and extract with them, you can keep them in your stash and use them when you want. So if you get a mission that needs keys, you can use it. And you start off every map with a small backpack, but during killing enemies, you can like gear up your character during it's kind of like a raid. So you can gear up your character, you can get a bigger backpack, you can get a bigger armor carrier. You start off with only 1 plate, and you can see this little icon up here on the left under loadout. It shows 1 plate. That's a plate icon. So you can pick up to 3 plates. So and then you can extract with it. But I'm not sure if it'll let you load in with it because it seems fixed. It's on the soldier. So I'm not 100% sure about this because I extracted before, but then I died, so I'm not sure. And what else? Is there anything else important? There's only the insurance as well. So when you do get a nice gun you like, or not a nice gun, when you unlock weapon attachments and weapons as you level up your character, you actually have insured slot, and these are separate to the contraband. And in the insured slots, you can put a gun based on your character level, like with whatever attachments you've set, and it's kind of like the normal Warzone weapon system. So you have a gun that you've got your specs, but you can only use it once every 2 hours or so. So after you die, with that insured gun, you'll get it back. Like you can use it again, but you got to wait in a cooldown. And playing games with contraband and extracting and finding items in game will help speed up that cooldown. So it's kind of like an insured weapon that you can always access. So a high-end weapon, basically, that you've spec'd up yourself. So that's how the insured slots work. And if you do the faction missions, you can have more insured slots. So you could have like 3 main weapons that you can always go back to, and you could kind of cycle through them, provided you're not just constantly dying. And that gives you a little bit of uniqueness to what you can run, like what kind of loadout you run. But otherwise, just try to extract with weapons you like for contraband. Because if you extract with a gun that you picked up, you'll get it in your contraband that you can keep using it. I think you can also store a weapon or 2 in your backpack. Or there's like a extra, you can't see it here, but there's a way you can stow a weapon where it's not one of your 2 primaries. You've got like a spare weapon. But I'll have to test it. I haven't thoroughly played this that much. I'm just sharing my initial breakdown of what I feel the game's like, my initial impression of it, and how I think the systems work. So I could be a little bit off with some of these explanations, but hopefully not. And yeah, then we got the basic matchmaking, and the way this works is we go into a map, you get a squad, but it's PvE, so you're fighting AI like in Tarkov, but there's other squads doing their own missions, and it's a big map. So sometimes you see like a enemy running, it's hard to even tell, is that an AI or is that a player? And then they climb up on a fence or something, and then you know it's a player. And you kind of, you just got to be careful because you can get dropped pretty quickly if it's a player. And if it's an enemy, they don't have a large aggro range, so they can be like pretty far away and you can just take them all out. They won't even fire back that quickly. But if you run up to them close, like if you're within, I'd say 20 meters and they do aggro, you can get dropped in seconds if you don't peek shot. So you kind of like have to peek, take your shots. So I'll just cancel that. Take your shots and then take cover and then peek again, and that's the way that I've noticed works best for taking the AI out, especially the higher end ones. Because if you just try to like rush them head on, and some of the AI have got good aim, you'll literally get dropped in seconds. And another thing is it's the same problem. There's no way to set a ping cap. So if I want my max ping to be 85, they still haven't added that function into the. Like, I don't know if I'm missing it somewhere. They haven't added an option to let us just set a max ping for the search. So if you see the ping go from searching for 77 ms or whatever your ping is and it goes up to 100, you have to literally just escape out and search again, and you'll eventually get a low ping match. Alrighty, so what else? Oh, I think it's found a match. No. See multipliers here, transition timing, instant, ADS sensitivity type. Oh, that's interesting. Legacy or rotation speed is reduced based on your field of view. This is how it worked. Previous titles, that's what I'm used to, so that's what I use. And I'm going to turn my mic off now because, yeah, I'm playing. You don't need to hear me breathing. So anyway, so we're running FSR 1.0. It's the best we've got for this. I reckon for AMD it's preferred anyway. And you'll just see the performance. I've also set my GPU clocks up to 2550 to 2650. And we're running at 1050 MV. And I stability tested this in superposition. And it was stable. It was able to do a full pass. So I'm hoping it's stable for Warzone. But there is a chance if the game suddenly closes, we'll know that it's undervolt instability, because the normal voltage is 1200 MV. So you can see it seems to be loading fine though. I'm streaming. I don't have any VRAM overclock though, because that is very... Games like this that stream a lot of textures in can be very VRAM sensitive, and even running fast timings can
enemy threat is high, so expect contact.
Screw stability. Alrighty.
That intel gives us the location of a high-value target, marking your TAC map. Ultra One, be advised that safe is bringing heat your way. Be ready for a gunfight. Ultra One, the safe is open. Secure all contents. targets are falling back at this time. Good work. Payment transferring now.
I'm good. Go! I got you! Armor here! Father! I'm good. Go!
Another player's gun. It's got more attachments.
You'll live. I'm good. Go! I got you. I'm good. Go!
We just have to clear the stronghold and not die. If you die, you can get rezzed, and if you get like fully knocked out, you can get not brought back, but your ally can actually go and revive you, but it's like a longer revive, so they can get you back up. And I'm not sure if there's a timer on that. Like I've seen a guy knocked down for ages, and alright, jeez, I'm blind. My team coming? I've seen a guy knocked down for ages, even myself, and like my enemy was clutching, and then at the end of the fight, it was like a 2 or 3 minute fight. Then he came and got me back up, and I was already dead. So. Let's do it. That's the player jumping.
Stay alive.
Teammates just like sleep.
Do not die here.
Check fire!
This is the helmet cam I was talking about, and you can see the texture. I'm getting revived. You can see the texture on the helmet was very average. Let's see if he gets me back up, please.
You're not dead yet. Get moving.
I'm good.
Another custom format. I think that's one of the starting weapons. Oh, it just gave me ammo. You can't have two of the exact same weapon. Radiation blocker. I need an armor plate pack so I can take more hits. Need to get to the top floor. Cool, more armor. Don't need shotgun bullets. It's cool, it also tells you how much stuff's worth. Stim. I want stim. I didn't have anything yet. Police armory. I don't even know how to get in there. Maybe there's an item somewhere in here you can find. It helps. be another way out. What's this? I'll get all back door. So I'm not sure if this is any benefit to actually having multiple Stronghold key cards. Because you can, oh maybe, but just looking for anything. I don't even know, like I haven't explored these that much. Strongholds, that is. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be anything else here, but there's something on the roof. Where is something on the roof? Is there a ladder somewhere in here? We have to go outside. See if there's a ladder somewhere.
Ultra One, actual. UAV is on station.
And my teammate's already up here. Right, so you can see how barren some of the ground textures look, and this is with the settings turned up. So you can imagine how much worse it might look if they're turned down. Like you'll get like no texture detail whatsoever at the lower settings. It just looks like a flat. It looks flat.
Ultra One, be advised that safe is bringing heat your way. Be ready for a gunfight.
I need to find White Lotus intel in the Stronghold, so I'm going to prioritize doing the mission first because that unlocks more insured weapons. So, and then here you can also find a high-end weapon in this yellow. There's like a special weapon there. I'm not sure what it means exactly because I've never found it, but it is a kitted out weapon as far as I can guess. But other players are also likely to want to go there too. That's an AI drop, so when you see those coming in, it's actually dropping off a bunch of AI, and they'll probably
Ultra One, the safe is open. Secure
and
all
push us.
contents.
Wait, probably. It's okay. Right. So I'm gonna go for this
Friendly
Stronghold now.
UAV on station.
This time.
Still have not found a armor vest. It's somewhere. AI might head this way, I don't know. They usually like spawn all in a big group and all head the same direction. But you can see we're entirely GPU bound here, and this is with the clock speed up a little bit, but you know the in-game clock is always lower than whatever you've set in Radeon. And I'm using a soft mod with a temperature target of 54 degrees because it helps. It seems to go off the lower temp reading rather than higher.
Taking fire! Incoming!
Enemy UAV is in the
That's what I wanted.
1-1, bring us those supplies to secure mission progress. Get to extraction.
Dropping ammo here.
I've got what I want. Yeah, just gonna make sure to extract with that. And extraction you can do almost any time, but if you wait till one of the last extractions, because this radiation tends to close in. I think it was radiation last time. I saw like a green smoke or something, and there's like a final extract here on a timer, so we got 10 minutes. And if you wait for the last extract, then obviously it's almost 100% PvP. But you can just get out early. You can just go to any of these exfils and get out if you've done what you need to do, and you know, extract with whatever nice weapons you have. Okay, a little FPS in here. It's pretty nice. It goes up. It was up at 130ish. Not too bad. We could get that higher because I'm on FSR. Wait, quickly test it. I'm on FSR ultra quality, and we could probably turn that down to quality. You do notice some distant blurring a little bit. Just wait for that. You do get a little bit more distant blurring, but as you can see now we're out here at, it's still 120-ish. So we're CPU bound actually, so we're kind of like borderline CPU bound. And on ultra quality we become GPU bound, but it's so close that the frame rate is not that drastically different. It looks like at certain angles, you know, looking off the map. Obviously we go up to 150, but there's nothing there. So we look inwards towards where AI might be, and you can see that the, I don't know which direction it is. There was a direction that I looked and the GPU utilization dropped. So that would have been an AI limit. You can even look at the sky where it's 64% on GPU, but I guess it's easy to draw the sky. What should we do here? We could go look for that, or I could already get out and be happy. I might actually. You don't need to wait for your team. If they want to come with you, they can come. But if you're doing a mission, it's kind of like Tarkov in a sense that you can extract early, except it's Tarkov with squads, like pre-made squads. But if you just like are done what you're doing, there's no need to like overextend, and then you lose whatever you picked up. So I can get out of here. I'll get XP. I'll get these 2 weapons to bring with me, and we'll see if it takes the oh no, I don't have a battle effect equipped. I don't have an armor plate pack. I wish I found one, but at least you can see what the exfil looks like. This actually doesn't look too bad on quality mode, to be fair. I'm not noticing anything really blurry or any. I've got Radeon image sharpening turned right up, turned to 90%, but it looks pretty good for the frame rate I'm getting out on the outskirts.
Ultra One, activity has increased in the area. Keep your eyes open.
You can see it calls it. It's a little bit different to a normal extract. Like you don't just go up to a thing and get a timer.
Ultra One, Dino Force inbound for extraction. We're 2 clicks out.
Yeah, actually this FPS is pretty good, but I don't know. In closer inland, it still drops down to like 130, and it's not that much of a difference compared to ultra quality mode, where you get that
we have visual on the LZ.
max GPU utilization. And yeah, there's no timer. We just gotta wait for this helicopter to come. Oh, that's the particle effect. Flare quality. It's pretty crappy on low. Particle quality.
Dino Force at the extract point. Be advised, we can't stay here long. All Ultras Oscar. Dino Force RGB.
There we go. at least we'll get to see the post-match, you know, like I didn't share that properly before and analyze it in my other benchmark. So successful exfil, and we'll see our weapons at least, if we get that contraband. So we got money. I don't know what the money is helpful for. XP, I guess. Maybe it converts it to XP. New unlock. And that was it. Okay. Now we just wait server. Cool. I have no idea what that was. Okay, so faction missions. Now we've unlocked more. Oh, tier 2. We've unlocked tier 2 of Legion, and we should be able to do White Lotus now. We can start on White Lotus. And what I do want to do is... But it's annoying. We have to go into deploy to see this. I'm not going to actually deploy. But you can see the contraband we picked up. So now that's part of our loadout. We can actually unequip one and save it, which is cool. And I took a stim with me. So I haven't unlocked stims, which are 29, but I took one with me, so I've got one. And that stays on you. So that's cool. So anything you pick up, I'm guessing field upgrade and lethal. Nothing from my backpack stayed. I didn't get to bring those. I think I had a key card with me. The stronghold card, those don't come with you. It's a different type of key. Exfil keys. Or maybe I didn't have one. Sure, I have to try that again. And I still have to test these. I have to extract with something upgraded out of these on-soldier items. I'm guessing you could. It makes sense. If you extract with 3 plates, you should get to use it again because you get the stims. You get the tacticals and lethals and stuff. But anyway, I've got what I like unlocked anyway, so... And those are free, so it's not like you're going to run out of those. You can just keep re-equipping them. It's just the stim. If I unequip that, I probably lose it, and because I'm not sure. Actually, we'll test. If I've got one, do I lose it by switching to something I've unlocked? Because this is locked. Will I be able to go back to it? So we'll test that right now. It's not gonna. I lose it. It throws it away. Lame. It doesn't keep like an inventory of what you've extracted with separate. It's just if you happen to have something unlocked on you, it'll let you use it again, but that's it. It's a one-off. That's fine. I like smoke grenades anyway. It's good for the AI. That's what I prefer it for, because it lasts longer than the flash grenades. So there's that. And contraband, we'll just see here. I unequip the other contraband, and I can bring it with me or destroy it. Obviously I wouldn't do that. And the timer on this, look at that. It dropped significantly, the cooldown timer. Like, it was up at... What did it? Dropped by like 7 minutes, I don't know. Okay. So you can't... the only downside of contraband is you can't modify it further. It's only the insured items that you can modify. So that's interesting. And what was I checking? I was checking this. So you need tier 3 of every faction, complete tier 3 of all the factions in order to get a second insured slot. So technically it didn't matter that I did that, the one mission, but I did get to tier 2. And I could either try to do 2 factions at the same time, because look at this mission, 6 points of interest, loot a medicine cabinet, that's pretty simple, extract 9 stims, so you carry, wow. So you basically want to, you could probably do that in 1 or 2 maps, like you just get a full loadout, or you can actually get a higher level backpack in map, and you could just load it with stims if you wanted to smash that task out. but I'm going to probably work on Legion first. And I think that's in-game shop. Spend money in the in-game markets. Complete 1 extract. Destroy 6 vehicles. This is interesting, some of this stuff. You're going to do 3 at a time. HPT or elsewhere. Use a key to unlock a locked space. Oh, and it didn't automatically unequip the mission that I'd already finished. That's interesting. So previous tier missions, I have to click that, go to whatever I did on tier 1. So this was a completed tier 1. It actually keeps it equipped even though it's already completed. I think it's a bug. It doesn't automatically unequip a completed mission. So you actually have to, either you can click it to unequip it there, or when you select a new one, for example here I'm full, it shows that this is 100% finished and I can swap Storm the Stronghold, which is 100%, and I can swap it with this incomplete mission. So it's just weird how they've done that. You'd think it would just automatically unequip it because it's done. So anyway, hope that makes sense. And now I can go and do more missions. Pretty cool. And yeah, hopefully that, not really an explanation, but hopefully that helps some of you guys out if you weren't sure how the DMZ works. It's just like Tarkov, you know, in a way. It's a casual version of Tarkov. It's pretty cool, and I think I'm going to enjoy doing these faction missions and actually playing this mode, because I did the Battle Royale mode, and it's gotten old. Like that kind of playstyle gets boring after a while. This is a bit more varied. It's got the AI in it, and yeah. Anyway, have a good one, guys, and take care.